Hi, my name is Tammy,
And I'm Jen.
and they call us Woo.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're always excited to be here and always excited to have you guys listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are fulfilling our promise to expand on what chakras are.
Yes.
Um, we talked last week and the week before, we talked about Reiki quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with Reiki, a lot of the time we are working with the chakras. So you've heard this word a lot in the last few episodes. And so we just wanted to tell you what they are. Chakras are actually light centers within the body. They're centers of energetic information. So there are seven major chakras in the body. These are the ones that people usually talk about. They're the ones that people usually know, but there are a lot more chakras in the body than most people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, chakra is actually a word that is all about wheels of light within the system. So, the seven major chakras are on the crown of the head, the brow, coming down into the throat, over the heart. Um, you can't see because I'm sitting down, but the solar plexus coming down into the sacral chakra and then the root. So, those seven centers are where most people talk about this energy and where your energy is centered. So each one of those centers is a spinning wheel of light. It's a spinning wheel of energy that we hold space for different aspects of who we are, and we hold space for our own growth, and we store information there. So this information is how we can tell what areas we need to work on, how we're doing as far as communicating, interacting with ourselves and other people. But it's also a way that you can interact if you have somebody doing healing work with you. They can interact with your chakras and they can find out more information about what's going on in your system as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about each one of the chakras. So, Tammy, is there anything you want to add to what I just said?
Yes. Because you live so far in the Woo realm, I feel like
Yes.
sometimes I am the interpreter for those who are not that far into it yet. So I'm gonna
Tammy is the
simplify.
liaison.
Yes. Um, the ambassador. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna simplify that even a little bit more for the people who are not familiar with the chakra system. Um, so most people would describe it as your energetic system. And yes, it has all these different spinning centers, but I think sometimes when we talk about, light and stuff like that, it can get a little bit confusing. So, I guess in my simplified terms, how I learned my understanding was it's really just like your energetic components, your energetic being. It can definitely connect to your physical being because each of them is connected to different parts of you. There's really no way to disconnect them, I guess you could say, because your energetic and your physical being are all the same. But if you're specifically addressing the energetic components in your body, you would be going through the different chakras because all of the chakras are connected to different things. They could be connected to different organs. They could be connected to your even like pain. You can work on actual physical pain that's being represented in the body by something that's wrong with the chakra system or whatever. So the idea of the chakras are you have these different parts of your body, no different than you have a physical organ in your body that's like your heart is responsible for pumping blood through your circulatory system. Each
Yes.
chakra is responsible for a specific area of you physically and energetically and can be connected to a lot of different organs, physical and energetic components of yourself. I don't know if I made that more
Yes.
complicated or less, but hopefully that's understandable. So it's not something that we necessarily see with our physical eyes, although we can see symptoms of dysfunction and we can see, when we learn to assess different things, like through Reiki, which, Reiki is really a tool to help not only assess some issues with the chakra system, but to be able to address those things and help balance things back out again. So there's all of these different tools we have that always kind of come back to this energetic system that we have. So it's like Reiki's like a massage for your energy. Just the same way you'd find a massage for your physical body very balancing and helpful. Reiki is like massaging your energy.
Yeah. So I'm laughing at myself because I'm recognizing that I feel like I need my chakra system balanced today. I am all over the place. For those of you who have heard, I am in the middle of a move and I am a little bit like all over the place here and there. And so
Understandably
as
so.
you're talking, I was like, oh yeah, I really need to do some balancing work today because I feel like I'm like, yeah. So if I sound a little bit out there or if I go off on tangents, sorry everybody, you are seeing Jen without a balanced chakra system.
Which happens to the best of us.
Yes, it does. And
Yes.
that's why it's important to know like that your energy is connected to everything. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just when we're stressed out. A lot of people think of the physical symptoms. A lot of people think of what's going on in their physical body. They get tense in their shoulders, they get headaches, they get tense in their head, they get tense in their back. Like people go to the physical symptoms
Mm-hmm.
or their emotions, but they don't necessarily look at what's going on energetically with the system and that there's other aspects of stress levels. There's other aspects of what's going on within the system. So
Mm-hmm.
you have not only the physical system, you have the energetic system, and then you have spiritual systems as well, and your mental systems. So all of that can be encompassed within the energetic system as well,
Mm-hmm.
because as you said, it's all tied together.
Right.
So I want to go over the specific chakras
Mm-hmm.
and I might actually stand up and like point out spots on my body so that you can see where the chakras are.
Sure.
So for those of you who are just listening and not looking on YouTube or watching our video, I will also describe where these things are. Um,
Perfect.
so we're going to start with the root chakra. So the root chakra is at the base of the spine. It is like your pelvic floor area. Um, it is in charge of like your groundedness, being balanced, being very in your physical body. And the way that you interact with the physical world. So a lot of people, if they're not balanced in their root chakra, if they have either an overabundance of energy there or an underabundance of energy there, um, they will start to see either they can't ground themselves, they can't stay physically present, um, or they're so stagnant, so stuck that they don't want to move. So people who are really tired all the time or people who are depressed, sometimes like they will have either a closed off root chakra or like I said, if they're having a hard time staying present or they're very flighty, it's because they have um too much energy sometimes in the root
Mm-hmm.
chakra. And the system just needs to be balanced out so that you have that I can go and do things, I can go and be balanced, I can be grounded, but I'm not so grounded that I'm stationary and stuck in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you see chakra charts, this is usually associated with the color red. So all the chakras are a spectrum of light within the body. So it's like a rainbow in your system. So we start with red at the root, which I'm gonna back up. So your root chakra is this area. I feel weird doing that on camera right now. So sorry, everybody. I'm like, oh, this area right
YouTube's
here.
gonna be like
Um,
inappropriate.
yes, this is a place that you typically won't touch on other people unless you are in intimate contact with them.
You might want to
Um,
explain for the listeners so they know what we're talking about.
so I just stood up and I kind of drew a hand circle around my private area So like I said, it is like the base of your spine. So um, when you're sitting, this would be like your pelvic area. Um,
So, from my understanding, there's two
yep,
chakras on the body that open, like a lot of them open forward, but
yep,
the root chakra opens down
yep,
and the crown chakra opens up, which we'll get to later. But
yep.
it's
So
yeah, it's basically like when you consider being like rooted to the ground, when you think of grounding, being rooted, it's energy that's literally going down into the earth.
yes, yes. So when I do meditations with people, I often have people visualize like roots coming down from the bottom of their spine, coming down into the earth and like grounding them into the earth so that they can draw the energy upward. Well, with your chakra systems, the energy will come up through the root. So, like Tammy just said, it's opening downward so that you can pull that energy in from Mother Earth and it will come up through your whole system, touch every single one of the chakras, and then come back out through the crown, which is the seventh chakra that we will talk about. But the crown also opens up away from the body so that you can receive information from the divine. You can connect to spirit. And so it's energy in from the earth, up through the body, and then reconnecting with divine. So out through the top of the head, and then you can also receive the other way. So energy comes in through the divine, through the whole system to reconnect you, and then back out to connect you into Mother Earth. So if you're in full balance, you're going to be receiving and giving both from Mother Earth and from the divine. So you're receiving both directions. So you're getting perfectly grounded in that rooted earth energy and you're getting balanced in the
Mm-hmm.
divine energy. Um, so that's the way that the system works. We're getting our energy from other sources, so from the earth and from the divine.
Right.
And that's why those open upward and the other ones open outward, so away from the body,
Right.
is because we're also getting information from the other, like from other people we're interacting with and our environment around us. It's not just about the divine and about the earth.
Mm-hmm. Which
Did that make
is,
sense?
yeah, and that is why, everything needs to be balanced going through your whole system, because if you have that flow going through your body, just like your circulatory system, if you have an artery that's clogged, you have a kink in your circulatory system. It's not going to function appropriately. It's not going to send everything through the body in this nice loop that it needs to.
Mhm.
So I want to explain a little bit further. So the idea with the chakras is that if you look up any charts or pictures or anything, generally you'll see something that looks circular. It's kind of like little tornadoes,
Mhm.
invisible tornadoes. So when Jen is describing these chakras opening up, there's movement to them too. Just like any other system in your body, it's you generally don't want them to be stagnant. They can be, but you generally don't want them to be, because anytime we have stagnant things in our, like physically in our bodies or our chakra systems, as we know, that generally causes dysfunction, because there's really not anything in our bodies that is supposed to just not move. It all
Right.
has a flow, it all has a movement. And the better flow, the better movement of these chakras, the more balanced you're going to be, both energetically and physically. So, usually, when people describe chakras, or when they're assessing your chakra system, they will be assessing for things like, is it stagnant? Are we getting any movement at all from it? If we are, is it overactive? Is it going crazy? Sometimes people use pendulums and things like that to assess. Sometimes they'll just use their hands, when we're talking about Reiki, and there's a lot of other ways to do this. But when people use pendulums, a lot of times it's an interesting visual, because when you hold it over that chakra, you'll start to see movement. And sometimes you'll see things going the wrong way. Sometimes you'll see things really tiny, not moving very much at all. Sometimes you'll see big, huge movements. So the idea is, like with any system in our body, when people are assessing these chakras, they're trying to see where your movement is at. So say, for instance, like you said, someone had a really overactive root chakra, they might feel stuck. They might be in a position where they feel like they can't move forward in aspects of their life. They might be in a position where they're having issues with stagnancy in the body. I know the root chakra specifically can be associated with the reproductive glands too.
Mhm.
So they might end up with some dysfunction in there. There's a lot of things that could happen with that, or opposite, like you were saying, if it's not very active at all, they could feel really flighty. They could feel like they're having a hard time focusing or concentrating. I think that one of the best ways that things were described to me was your root chakra is like your base physical needs. Like what are your base things? It's it's food, it's reproduction, it's like this very like what does a human need in their basic functions to survive. So
Mhm.
that made a lot of sense to me because it's like, okay, well, if you feel like you are not connected to just these basic things of taking care of yourself, you're probably not feeling very grounded. And there might be some dysfunction, going on in other places too. But I think, especially nowadays with so much happening outside of ourselves, happening in social media, happening, in the world that people feel like they can't control, the root chakra is probably something that a lot of people need a little balancing on. Because
Yeah.
people do feel very ungrounded. I've heard a lot of that even, since all the pandemic stuff, like just feeling really out of control or disconnected from what's happening right now. So when people talk about
Yeah.
grounding, a lot of time they're like, okay, what is happening right now? What are my actual needs right now? That's a
Yep.
lot of times associated with the root chakra, in my
Yeah.
understanding of it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that it has a lot to do with our roots, so our ancestry. So it
Mm.
is a connection to where we came from. So if you've had a lot of trauma in your family or in your ancestry, sometimes that will show up as a stagnation or
Good
some type
point.
of block in the root chakra
Mm-hmm.
because there's generational trauma that is creating issues that haven't been dealt with or that you don't know that they're an issue. So, from an energetic standpoint, you could have received this blockage from your mother in her womb or from your grandmother when your mother was in her womb, like it could be something that was passed down. And so it's really important to look at the energetics or look at the history of your family or people that you're surrounded with, because that can also affect some of your chakras, some of your energetic system, because
Mm-hmm.
we do pick up that information. Um,
That would be another
so
good topic for another time, generational trauma.
yes, I'm writing this down. I'm
Me
writing
too,
it
so
down
we
this
don't
time.
forget all the things that we want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, and so talking about the root chakra, it's one of the things that when I first started hearing about chakras, I thought, which some people call them chakras too. So if you hear people say chakra, that is also a traditional way of saying chakra.
Mhm.
So it's personal preference, but I just want to throw it out there
Yeah,
because
don't
I
feel
don't
the
want,
need to apologize. And if you hear any craziness in the background, I do apologize. My cat is currently trying to climb a wall and bouncing off other walls. So hopefully you
maybe
don't
he
hear
needs
that in the
some
background.
grounding energy.
Yeah.
We need to ground him and work on his chakra system. Um,
Yeah, he probably does need a lot of grounding right now.
um, but so when I first started hearing about chakras, um, I always assumed that because of where the root chakra was, it was specifically about sexual energy and
Mm,
that it was like your connection to your partner and that's actually not the case.
mm-hmm,
And you talked about reproductive system. Well, that is part of the root chakra, and
mm-hmm.
fertility is part of the root chakra. The root chakra actually, I mean, sexual energy actually comes into the next chakra that we're going to talk
Right.
about. So the
Which is a
second
whole different
chakra,
thing, right? Because that's like the
yeah,
intimacy piece of it, where the root
yeah,
chakra is like our basic need as a race to reproduce.
yep,
So, yes.
exactly. Exactly. And that actually kind of goes into the generational aspect of it too. It's carrying forward your roots, carrying forward your
Mm-hmm.
family. Um, but so the sacral chakra is the next one. So that one is actually in your lower abdomen. Um, it's usually associated with the color orange. Um, and it's an emotional feeling center. So it's connection, like intimate connection with people, allowing yourself to feel your emotions, allowing yourself to connect into your creativity, your sensuality, your sexuality. Fertility wraps into this because the root chakra and the sacral chakra actually, every chakra intertwines with the next one. So
Just
there's
like
some
a rainbow.
overlap. Yes, just like a rainbow. Excuse me. But it does, it flows together. And those energies, if one chakra is not open, it's not receiving, it's not producing the energy and allowing the flow of energy through, it also creates a slight imbalance on the edge of the next one because they do feed into each other and they
Mm-hmm.
touch. Um, and so a lot of the time when people are working with the sacral chakra, they're looking at things like asking themselves, how is my emotional health? How am I feeling about myself? Um, how am I creating
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for creativity and intimate connection with myself and with other people?
Right.
So this chakra is really, really important because if we're not open, if we're not receiving, we're not having a flow of energy through there, a lot of the time we're very closed off to our own connection with self and our connection with especially our intimate partner or
Mm-hmm.
somebody you're in a relationship with. Um, but we're also not able to create newness in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it is a creative center. So it's where your passion starts to bubble up, um, so that you can express,
Yes.
which gets into other chakras.
That's been it described to me before too as a maternal. It has a very maternal feel to the chakra, which always made a lot of sense to me because I myself have encountered a lot of dysfunction in people's sacral chakra when they're experiencing things like family traumas, having issues with their families, and kind of like what I was saying before, issues with reproduction in the sense of like the feelings of it, the intimacy, the connection with other people, like you said, the connection with yourself. But when I thought of it as a maternal one, it made a lot of sense too because creativity is something that you birth, like it's
Mhm.
something that comes from you. So it really is producing something in the world. And
Mhm.
the dysfunction I tend to see in that sometimes it's people who are having these issues with intimacy and family. A lot of the intimacy issues is what I come up with, and not necessarily just like a sexual partner, but people who are like your children, like anybody in the
Mhm.
family that you have an intimate personal connection with that you're having some challenges with. But I do see it a lot in partners as well. And I found sometimes two people who are struggling with fertility, like you said, they'll have some issues with their sacral
Mhm.
chakra as well as their root chakra,
Mhm.
where it feels like the sacral chakra to me is always the emotional piece of it.
Yeah.
Like the root chakra is the reproduction piece of it. The sacral chakra always feels like the severe emotional
Yeah.
stress and pain that happens with some of these other things, which can sometimes cause it to be shut off, or people who have experienced abuse or trauma in those ways too.
Yeah.
But when I thought of it as maternal, it made so much sense to me about this creative piece of it too, and how
Yeah.
all of us can have that maternal creative thing, but it's just anything that's involving creation into this world, and our connections with that
Yeah.
creation, whether it be connections with ourself, connections with our family, connections with the things that we produce,
Yeah.
that we put out there in the world. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
And you brought up people who've had some type of trauma. And one of the things when I've worked with a lot of people on their energetic system, I notice when people lay down on the massage table, people who've had any type of trauma or any type of abuse in their lifetime, they tend to cover certain areas of their body when they lay
Mm-hmm.
down. They'll place their hands, like a lot of people when they lay down, they'll place their hands over their heart. Or most of the time, what I see is people will cover their sacral chakra,
Mm-hmm.
like they cover their abdomen. And when I see somebody do that, based on where they're placing their hands, I typically know that there's some type of energetic or emotional blockage that they've been compensating for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so watching people's physical cues often tells you like where their imbalances are, where they're not open in a chakra or where they're closed off, because their body wants to protect.
Mm-hmm.
And so the body is going to have a physical reaction to the energetic stressor that's in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So so I always watch when people lay down on my massage table, if they're placing their hands here, if they're placing their hands like covering any part of their body, I'm like, okay, what's going on there? Like, we need
That's
to
a
look at that.
that's a good way to look at that. And as you said it too, it also reminded me of the connection. You know, if people are trying to identify that connection with the sacral chakra in themselves, like even within, you know, just the general world of therapy and psychology and stuff, it's commonly accepted, the idea of having an inner child, which
Hmm.
is also part of all of that. I mean, I've seen that too, like you said, with people kind of protecting that. Sometimes they're protecting their inner child who is hurt and scared, who is also a piece of them. And that is their
Yep.
intimate connection issue,
Yep.
is this, you know, little person inside of them has not had an opportunity to fully function as an adult or grow up or get the care that they need. So then you, in the way that it's commonly accepted, people who are doing this inner child work, they work on giving their child the things that they didn't get from other people.
Yeah.
So you're, you know, mothering or fathering, you're parenting your own child. And
Yeah.
that's a really interesting point to watch for where people are putting things and what they're protecting. I've certainly
Yeah.
seen that too when I work, you know, physically hands on with massage, that sometimes those areas where chakras are not balanced be very sensitive on people and can cause
Yeah.
a physical reaction.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a discomfort. Sometimes for people
Hmm.
who have dealt with a lot of trauma, sometimes it's a very physical
Yep.
reaction, crying or feeling really uncomfortable with, you know, anyone working in that area. So when you consider where that chakra is, you know, it's a lower abdomen is where it's on the
Hmm.
body. But even if, say, I'm working on someone's hips or glutes or something like that, if they need some
Yeah.
work on that, sometimes they will get a very intense reaction to that. And certainly
Yeah.
you can think of connections in, you know, people who have been traumatized through physical abuse, but also remembering that there's a chakra at play in there too that
Yep.
needs to be balanced out is I think more helpful than only addressing the physical piece of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you just brought up a good point that it's not just one specific little teeny tiny area. Well, we have like a central point
Mm-hmm.
that is where the chakra would typically show. It's actually through the whole entire body, like front to back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the front of the body. It's in the center of the
Mm-hmm.
body, but expands out through the whole entire body. And actually, um, when I've done some classes on this, you can expand the energy of those points. So we talked when we were talking to Alan last episode from Monroe Institute. While I was there, they actually did the biofield imaging that showed our chakras and how open they were. And when people are learning to develop or they're working with and healing their chakra system, those points are actually going to expand. So they're much larger than just like over your heart chakra. It's not just going to be this little teeny tiny spot. If you haven't been working with it and you haven't been expanding it, it might show that way. It might be smaller and not quite as
Mm-hmm.
open. But as you start working with it and as you start acknowledging your energy system, it's going to get much larger.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, people's energy fields get to be bigger than their whole body. Like they're felt before you actually see the physical person. A lot of the time, people can feel you coming into a room because you've worked with your energy and your energy has expanded. So there is a lot of flow and a lot of interaction between the different chakras. So when we're talking about this, we are talking about very specific spots, but that's not to say that they don't expand
Mm-hmm.
and radiate out past those little areas that
Right.
are the central point for that chakra.
Which is good to remember too when you consider that they are actually connected to specific organs too. So if you kind of get a visual of your body and where your organs are, a lot of times the chakra that kind of is responsible for that whole area of your body is connected
Mhm.
to that chakra. So balancing out some of the chakra issues can potentially also help with the physical issues, with
True.
certain organs in the body.
True story.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, we got a little bit chatty again today. You know us. We talk too much. We were talking about chakras and we talked about the throat chakra, which obviously we were very open today. So this is going to be another two-parter. So this was episode 13. Episode 14 will be the continuation of this. So please watch both and we will talk to you guys later. Thanks everybody for listening. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe and check the show description for the links to the show. We would love to hear your thoughts below on this episode, as well as anything that you'd like us to talk about on future episodes. Remember, everybody, you are unique just the way you are, and that is why they call us Woo.
Mm-hmm.